Lesson 16.
Muchacho, muchacha.
Okay, here we have yet another pair of nouns where there's a masculine counterpart and a feminine counterpart. Of course, the masculine counterpart, muchacho, ends with the letter O, and muchacha ends with the letter A. Antonio, I've been told that the word muchacho can mean different things in different contexts. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about the word muchacho and the word muchacha, and just give us a little bit of additional knowledge about that word.
Well, there seems to be a consensus that muchacho or muchacha generally mean young man or young woman, but depending on the country in Latin America, it could also mean boy or girl or kid. It also depends on the context. Mainly muchacho, it's referred to as a young boy or young woman between the ages of 13 and 19.
So, Antonio, if you saw a 14-year-old boy sitting on the street corner drinking a soda, you could say that's a muchacho.
That's correct.
Or if you saw a 16-year-old girl at the store, you could say that's a muchacha.
Yes.
And now, is that going to be valid for throughout the Spanish-speaking world, or is that going to vary from country to country?
It's going to be valid throughout the entire region of Latin America. It just refers to a young person. For example, a person in his or her 60s, if he wants to refer to somebody in their 30s or 20s, they refer to them as muchacho also because they see them as young persons.
So a minute ago, you said that a muchacho, generally speaking, is someone in their teen years, but now you're saying that it's also got sort of a relative quality to it.
Yes, but let's remember the important thing here is that the meaning of muchacho or muchacha really is a young man or young woman. If for you, a young person, it's somebody in their 40s, then that technically could be a muchacho. But that's what really is, just a young person. It depends on what you define as young.
Well, that makes sense. But as far as our book goes, we have chosen to translate muchacho as young man and muchacha as young woman, just because that seemed like the best general translation for those words. Well, let's take a look at the exercises here in Lesson 16. In number 1, we have the word muchacha, which we will translate as young woman, and it's being introduced by the feminine indefinite article una. We'll translate una as a or an. So number 1 will say a young woman. In number 2, we have muchacho, which we'll translate as young man, and it's being introduced by the masculine indefinite article un. Then we have muchacha being introduced by the feminine indefinite article una. So number 2 will say a young man and a young woman. In number 3, we have a definite article, el, introducing the word muchacho. So number 3 will say the young man. In number 4, we have 2 definite articles, la and el. La introduces muchacha, and el introduces muchacho. So number 4 will say the young woman and the young man. In number 5, me means my, and amigo means friend. So number 5 will say, my friend, and of course it's referring to a friend of the male gender. In number 6, we have the word amiga, which means friend. Of course it's feminine, and it's being introduced by the definite article, la. So number 6 will say, the friend, and of course it's referring to a friend of the female gender. In number 7, tu means your, and amiga means friend. Then we have the word tu again, and then hermano, which means brother. So number 7 will say your friend and your brother. And of course the word friend, since it's feminine, it's referring to a friend of the female gender. In number 8, we have the definite article el, introducing the noun niño. Then we have another definite article, la, introducing niña. So number 8 will say the boy and the girl. In number 9, tu means your, and hermana means sister. So number 9 will say your sister. In number 10, we have the indefinite article un introducing niño. Niño and un are both masculine. So number 10 will say a boy.